All right, so you're welcome back, and we're going to be talking about the divisional structure system. Now, divisional structure systems, specifically, which we can also call a product structure, tends to focus on organizations that diversify into different product ranges and want to then understanding that each product range or each product that exists within those ranges are peculiar to themselves in terms of production itself, the marketing, the customer, the target market that you're focusing on. A typical divisional structure system, as I said, is diversifying in nature. And what that means is that you'd have different products that exist within that organization. But why it becomes important for each product to have its own structure system incorporated within, the overall structure system of that organization is that for each product, it's peculiar in how it is produced. It is peculiar in the market strategy that needs to be applied. It's peculiar on who your customer or your target market is going to be. And because of that, also is going to be peculiar on the resources needed to actually attain those activities. So understanding that gives you an idea that for each product that exists within a divisional structure system, it has to be incorporated with its own CEO, with its own departments, which could be like, for example, as we see here, you have the divisional products, product X, you have divisional product Y, you have divisional product Z, and for each product, you would have the research and development department, the marketing and finance, the marketing department, and then the finance department. And understanding that, it gives you an idea that for each product, it has to run on its own. It has to have departments that are dedicated to that product. Again, I'm always using Dangote, but Dangote is a great example of that again with this divisional structure system, because he has the spaghetti, the sugar, the cement, and the oil, and each runs on its own. So, but again, with the divisional structure system, I can also say that you have what we call the geographic divisional structure system. So you have the product divisional structure system and the geographical divisional structure system. With the geographic divisional structure system, it's focused more now on having a particular product, but in different geographical locations, whether it's within a particular country or it's found in various countries. And this is where these multinational companies now come into play. And these are typically the type of structure systems that they use. Now, again, why it's important for there to be different structure systems for different geographical location goes back to the dynamics of the environment in which the organization finds itself, and understanding that for each environment, the dynamics is different. And when I say it's different, you talk about, the political environment, the economic environment, the social environment, and of course the legal or environment in itself. And all these factors, that's the macro environmental factors, play a role in defining how the dynamics of that business is going to be incorporated for that particular product that exists. So again, I could give you an example with, for example, you have companies like DHL, for example, or Amazon. We could talk about Amazon, Netflix. Now, these companies, or even DSTV, and we see how these companies at the end of the day are found in different geographic locations. But at the end of the day, each geographic location that, for example, DSTV exists, they have their own CEO. They would have their own CEO, and then they would have, the various functionalities within that particular organization, within that geographic location, and understand the dynamics of how the dynamics of DSTV works in Nigeria is different from how it would work in Zambia or South Africa, and so have you. So it's essential that we understand that divisional structure system is for companies that are trying to expand towards either the product itself, trying to diversify in the product, or trying to diversify in geographic locations, and understanding that at the end of the day, for a divisional structure system, it becomes important that centralization is less, so there's more of decentralization. And why divisional structure systems becomes essential for decentralization is for fast decision making. So you can imagine if somebody is in another country, if for DSTV, for example, here in Nigeria, and of course we know the parent company is in South Africa, but you can imagine if decisions have to be made, and the CEO or the managing director here in Nigeria would have to then get a final decision in South Africa, and how long that could take. Of course, I would say with technology, the time span is much shorter, because you could just have a Zoom call or a Zoom meeting and things would be done. But at the end of the day, still there's a line of authority that needs to be followed, of process and procedures. So with divisional structures, is able to cut that down, the centralization, whereby decisions, those within that geographic location, those in charge, that's the CEO or managing director, are given full authority to make decisions, understanding that they know the dynamics of the environment that they find themselves, and through that they're able to make certain decisions in line with for the organization. And so also each division within a divisional structure contains all necessary resources and functions within it. So everything is done separately, it's independent of what other geographic locations have to do. And then divisions can be categorized from different points of view in terms of that which I've given you. You have the product and the geographic structure system. And then one might also make divisions on geographical basis or product. So some of the strengths and weaknesses of functional structure is that the strength is that it's suited to a fast change in unstable environment, because usually typical divisional structures, the understanding that they're focused on the environment that they find themselves, and is focused on different products. They're always into what is the next new thing in terms of the technology, of course, and then all the environmental factors that exist within that dynamics of the divisional structure system, especially the geographic structure systems that need to always be on their feet on what is going on around them, and understanding the dynamics of the geographic location which they find themselves, but even globally, internationally, that it reflects or affects their decision making in the organization. Also, it leads to customer satisfaction, because products, responsibility, and contact points are clear, because you have somebody in charge of a particular product, and it's not that like the functional structure whereby even if you have a few products, it's focused in one place. Here you have somebody clearly defined for for example, for the cement, and you know where to go to in terms of the company of the cement. You know where to go to in terms of those in charge of the sugar. And then that way it's clearly defined, and you know that that's their focus and aim and objectives. So that is clearly defined. Also, it involves high coordination across functions, because the coordination, again, is focused on that particular product and services in line with how the divisional structure system is. So you have someone, a CEO or a manager, that's specifically in charge of that particular product or that particular location, and you know that that's their focus. So even, for example, banks is another good example of geographical structure systems, whereby you see them found, that's what we call the branches, and at the end of the day, you have a manager that's in charge of a particular branch, and you know that that's his main focus, aim and focus. So you could imagine if you had someone, which was what existed before you would have somebody at the top of especially these old generation banks, and they would still make decisions. Because remember, when you talk about structure system, it's also about the decision making, the line of authority, and as I said, the centralization. And once that is broken down in line with what we call a typical divisional structure system, decision makings are done much more faster and more effectively. And of course, at the end of the day, customers are happy. Then also, it also allows units to adapt to differences in products, regions, or customers, because it's all about adaptability. Whether it's about the product that you're focused on specializing on, it's about adaptability to specialize within that area, or it's on a particular geographic location in terms of geographical divisional structure system, whereby now you're talking about the dynamics of that environment and understanding the dynamics of having a DSTV in Nigeria compared to Zambia, and how that differentiates how the marketing mix is going to look like, the strategies that are going to be incorporated or done to achieve the goals and objectives, which will be differentiated due to the dynamics that exist for each region. Now, also, it's best in large organizations with several products when you talk about the divisional structure systems. Again, as I said, as an organization grows or it expands and it has different or it diversifies, of course, then it becomes essential for the divisional structure systems to come into place. And that's why, as I said, for functional structure, as it grows, it becomes essential for a functional structure to expand to a divisional structure system, because it's then now looking at different geographic location, or it's looking to expand or diversify to different products. And then also it decentralizes decision making, which I've been emphasizing on. Of course, the divisional structure system makes decision making easier, because what comes into play is that for every branch or every location, geographic divisional location that exists, decision making has to be then given to the person within that geographic location instead of the parent company. And then that brings about the decentralization, which is essential. You go back to the divisional structure system. And with the product divisional structure system, you have a CEO or manager that's in charge of the cement or the oil or the sugar, but understanding that the person in charge, number one, you would get someone that specializes or has experience within that background. So you know that person has the ability and capability and knowledge and know-how to make necessary decisions within that product range or product that they find themselves. So that is essential. Then some of the weaknesses is that it eliminates economies of scale in functional departments, because we know that with functional departments, all resources are put into play towards achieving, but because you have to now then spread your resources across different baskets, then automatically that is going to of course reduce or basically eliminate the economies of scales, and that's one of the disadvantages of that. And then it leads to poor coordination across product lines, because at the end of the day, if you do too much, and this goes back to scalability, if you then incorporate something that's passes your capacity in terms of resources and abilities and capabilities, then automatically it's going to reflect on the outcome of your products. In terms of that. So it's essential that at the end of the day, we understand that for a divisional structure system, of course, it's a positive, but once you're limited with your resources and you're basically, pushing the bar towards what you can do within your capacity, then at the end of the day, definitely is going to reflect on your products or services within the product divisional structure system, or is going to reflect on your geographical divisional structure system also, if you're not careful. And then also it makes integration, it eliminates in-depth competence and technical specialization, because usually with product structure systems, what you tend to get is that because organizations are trying to save money, to get the number of employees that are necessary towards achieving the goals and objectives, and make sure that everybody plays the necessary roles or responsibilities or tasks at hand towards achieving that, you tend to see how money is trying to be saved. You tend to see how they're trying to push the bar, and it goes back to resources, having limited resources. And at the end of the day, what happens is that you tend to see one person doing two functionalities at the same time. So it kind of waters down the capabilities and specialization, which one is supposed to focus on. Fourth one is makes integration and standardization across product lines difficult. Of course, when you talk about divisional structure system, even though you have different products or you have different geographic location, remember this is one company, and at the end of the day, how are you able to harmonize all these various product ranges or divisional structure systems in terms of the geographic location? How are you able to align them together to the parent company? And this is one of the weaknesses of a typical divisional structure system, is making sure that there's that harmony, there's that communication across the board in different geographic locations or in the various product systems, and how they align towards the overall corporate objectives of the organization. So with that, we're going to go into matrix structure system.